I'm going to cover drafting equipment today. In your book, the first few activities require that you sketch some activities, and I am going to illustrate how to use a T-square, an architectural scale. I have a drafting brush for cleaning up erasing. This is a 30-60 triangle. I also have a 45-degree triangle and a circle template. You can also use a compass. This is a white eraser that I use to erase lines, and it erases everything very cleanly, more so than a red tip. And then I use my drafting brush to sweep off the drawing so I don't get smudge prints. Your first activity in the book is a line and angle drawing, which it talks about in the first few pages, but I don't feel like it's very clear as far as measurement and this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to use a T-square. And this is one of your recommended supplies, and in fact it is a tool that you will find yourself using quite often. The T-square basically lines up along a table edge, and it slides up and down that edge so that you can draw perfectly straight lines and keep everything at a right angle. Once I have seated my T-square, I hold it in place, and then I'm going to line up my paper with the edge of the T-square, hold it in the center, and I have 4 pieces of tape about 1.5 inches long, and I'm going to sweep in an X pattern and just barely catch those corners. If you sweep in an X pattern, it will prevent your paper from getting air bubbles. And you notice I'm using the back of my hand so that I don't smudge my drawing. And I'm working in an X pattern. Once that's accomplished, make sure that your tape is completely flat so that it doesn't peel up and stick to the equipment. And now I'm ready to draw. I am going to assume, since there are no measurements in the book, that this border is 1/2 inch from the edge. So I'm going to start by making a light dot 1/2 inch from the edge of my paper. All the way around. And you'll notice that I twist my pencil when I make the dot. And that creates a little groove in the paper that I can come back, put my pencil in that groove, slide my equipment up to meet the pencil, and I'm now going to use the edge of my pencil to lightly sweep a line. This is called a construction line. I will again put my pencil in the dot, slide my equipment up to meet my pencil, and make sure you're seated here on the table. Lightly sweep a line across. Now I can use either one of my triangles put my pencil in the dot, line up my equipment, lightly sweep a line upwards, and sometimes you have to flip your triangle. Okay, now these lines are very, very light. I generally don't erase unless I make just a terrible mistake. And this is going to serve as the border. Now I'm going to measure up 1/2 inch for my title block. At this point, I know exactly how long to make this line, so I can bear down and draw a nice dark line. I can also go ahead and darken in my title block. Now with my title block completed, I need to locate the center of my paper. The simplest way to locate a center point is simply draw, or I should say line up with your corners, and somewhere around the center draw a light line. I'm doing it a little bit darker here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put my pencil in this corner, line it up with the top of my title block, and create an intersection. I now have an X in the center of the paper. This is a bit dark, so I'm going to go ahead and use my white eraser and my drafting brush. Now that I've created an X in the center of the paper, I can use that X as my center point. So I simply put my pencil in the intersection, and I can draw this line dark. Use my T-square for the horizontal. And I now have 4 equal boxes in which to draw my lines. I'm going to want to measure at this point, and there's not really a measurement in the book, so I'm going to double check this, and it is reading at 3.5, so I'm going to call it at every 1/2 inch. So I always measure along the line so that I'm guaranteed I have a true measurement, and at every 1/2 inch I'm going to twist my pencil. And if you're a bit off at the top, don't worry about it too much. These activities are mostly about learning how to use equipment and getting nice parallel and perpendicular lines. So now I simply line up with each dot and draw my lines. For your 45-degree sections, the same rules apply. You're going to measure every 1/2 inch. You're going to put your pencil in that measurement dot, bring your equipment over, and simply draw 45-degree lines all the way across, and then get your 30-60, and I believe these are 60-degree angles, and use your measurements to complete that section. And that is it for drafting equipment. Good luck with your